Friends, gather round. It seems our favorite reality show, Global Trade Negotiations, is back for another season. This time it's a North American showdown, and the stakes are higher than ever. Remember when we thought things couldn't get any weirder after 2020? We were so naive. Now, it's 2025, and the world is a geopolitical clown car driven by a very orange, very loud man-child with a penchant for Twitter rants and ill-advised tariffs. So what's got everyone's favorite comb-over in a twist this time? Well, it seems like the former president is back in the spotlight, and not for the reasons you might expect. This time he's stirring the pot with some bold economic moves. America's premier-in-chief, in a move that surprised absolutely nobody, decided to make headlines once again. This time he's taking aim at his neighbors to the north and south. Yes, you heard it right. He's decided to slap tariffs on goods from Mexico and Canada. This isn't just a minor tweak. It's a full-blown economic maneuver that has everyone talking. The decision to impose tariffs on Mexico and Canada is not just a simple policy change. It's a significant shift, and that could have far-reaching consequences. By targeting these two countries, he's essentially shaking up the entire North American trade landscape. The tariffs are set at a hefty 25%, which is bound to have a ripple effect across various industries. Because we clearly need some good old-fashioned trade tensions to spice things up. It's like adding fuel to a fire that's already burning out of control. The move has sparked heated debate and protests, with many questioning the wisdom behind such a drastic measure. Business leaders and economists are weighing in, and the consensus is far from unanimous. We're talking a hefty 25% on all things Mexican, from avocados to tequila. Imagine the impact on your favorite guacamole or margarita. The price hike could make these beloved items a luxury rather than a staple. Mexican markets are bracing for the impact, and consumers are left wondering how this will affect their daily lives. And lest our Canadian friends feel left out, he threw in tariffs on their goods too. Maple syrup, a staple of Canadian culture, didn't escape his notice. The tariffs on Canadian products are equally significant, affecting everything from breakfast tables to trade relations. It's a move that has left many Canadians scratching their heads, including those tiny little umbrellas that come with fancy drinks. You know, the essentials. It's almost as if he's targeting our breakfast and cocktail hours. The seemingly trivial items are now at the center of a major economic debate, highlighting the interconnectedness of global trade. Because nothing says America first like making breakfast and cocktails more expensive for everyone. It's a bold strategy, but is it really the best move for the country? The question remains whether these tariffs will achieve their intended goals, or simply create more problems for American consumers and businesses. Recently, experts have weighed in, suggesting that these tariffs could backfire, leading to higher prices and strained relations with key allies. The debate continues, but one thing's for sure, the economic landscape is shifting. As the situation unfolds, all eyes are on the potential long-term effects of these tariffs on the global economy. Now you might think our neighbors to the north and south would just take this lying down, but you'd be wrong. They were quick to respond, and their actions were nothing short of a clapback heard around the world. The trade policies enacted by the US administration were met with swift and calculated responses from both Mexico and Canada, showcasing their resilience and strategic acumen in the face of economic aggression. Mexico, led by the unflappable Claudia Sheinbaum, retaliated with tariffs on American goods that hit Trump's base right where it hurts, their stomachs and their livers. Sheinbaum's strategy was clear: target the products that Americans love and consume daily. By imposing tariffs on these essential goods, Mexico aimed to create a ripple effect that would pressure the US administration to reconsider its stance. Pork, apples, potatoes, bourbon, and cheese, all slapped with tariffs designed to make America's heartland feel the pinch. These are not just any products, they are staples in many American households, and the tariffs were a direct hit to the agricultural and food sectors. The impact was immediate, with prices rising and American farmers and producers feeling the strain. The choice of these products was no accident. It was a calculated move to hit the US where it would hurt the most. Canada, always the picture of politeness, also joined the party. But don't let their polite demeanor fool you. Their response was equally impactful. The Canadian government, led by a determined Prime Minister, decided to stand firm against the US tariffs. They knew that a strong response was necessary to protect their own economic interests, and to send a clear message that they would not be bullied. They targeted US-made cars and trucks with their own 25% tariffs. This move was particularly strategic, as the automotive industry is a significant part of the US economy. By focusing on this sector, Canada aimed to hit a critical component of American manufacturing and exports. The tariffs on cars and trucks were designed to create economic pressure and to force the US administration to reconsider its trade policies. Turns out even Canadians have their limits. Who knew? The tariffs led to increased prices, and the usually calm and composed Canadians took to the streets in protest. The economic impact of the tariffs was felt across the country, with consumers facing higher prices for everyday goods. The protests were a clear indication that the Canadian public was not willing to accept the economic fallout without making their voices heard. This tit-for-tat tariff tango has thrown the continent into a trade war nobody wants, except maybe the guy who started it from his luxurious Florida resort. The ripple effects of these tariffs are being felt across North America, affecting businesses, consumers, and economies alike. The trade war has created uncertainty and instability, with companies struggling to navigate the new economic landscape, and consumers bearing the brunt of higher prices. As of the latest updates, the trade tensions show no signs of easing. Recent reports indicate that both Mexico and Canada are doubling down on their tariffs, while the US administration remains steadfast in its approach. The economic impact continues to ripple through various sectors, with no clear resolution in sight. Businesses are facing increased costs, consumers are dealing with higher prices, and the overall economic outlook remains uncertain. The trade war has become a complex and ongoing saga, with no end in sight. So, who's really paying the price for this trade war? It's not just a matter of international politics or economic strategies. The real impact is felt by everyday people and small businesses, the ones who are trying to make ends meet, who are already juggling multiple responsibilities, and who now have to deal with the added burden of economic instability. Spoiler alert. It's not the politicians who started it. They might be the ones making the decisions, but they are far removed from the consequences. They continue to live their lives in comfort, shielded from the direct impact of their policies. Meanwhile, the rest of us are left to pick up the pieces. American businesses and consumers are getting squeezed by higher prices and disrupted supply chains. The shelves are emptier, and the wait times are longer. This isn't just an inconvenience, it's a significant disruption to our daily lives. Imagine going to the store and not finding basic necessities, or having to wait weeks for something that used to be readily available. Farmers are struggling to sell their products. Their crops are going unsold and their livelihoods are at risk. These are the people who feed our nation, and they are being hit hard. The ripple effect extends to rural communities, where farming is often the backbone of the local economy. Manufacturers are facing higher costs for materials. This means production slows down and the cost of goods goes up. Factories that once buzzed with activity are now quieter, and workers are left wondering about the security of their jobs. The increased costs are passed down the line, ultimately landing in the laps of consumers. And everyday Americans are left wondering why their beer and burritos suddenly cost more. It's a ripple effect that touches every aspect of daily life. From the grocery store to the local diner, prices are creeping up and people are feeling the pinch. It's not just about luxury items. It's about the essentials that we rely on every day. But hey, at least we're sticking it to those Canadians and Mexicans, right? Except, not really. The idea that America is winning this trade war is a misconception. The reality is far more complex and far less triumphant. Trade relationships are intricate and deeply interwoven, and the fallout is felt on all sides. Because guess what? They're experiencing the same economic pain as the Americans. Their workers are worried, their markets are unstable, and their prices are rising too. The economic strain doesn't respect borders. It spreads and affects everyone involved. The interconnected nature of our economies means that no one is immune. Job losses, rising prices, and economic uncertainty, the joys of a trade war are apparently universal. No one is truly winning here. Everyone is feeling the strain. And with recent news, it's clear that the economic fallout is only deepening, with no end in sight. The longer this continues, the more entrenched the problems become, making recovery an even steeper uphill battle. Amidst all the turmoil and economic strain, there comes a glimmer of hope. The Trump administration has recently announced a 30-day halt on the tariffs. This decision came after intense negotiations between the United States, Canada, and Mexico. Both countries have agreed to adhere to certain demands set forth by President Trump, including increased border security measures and adjustments to trade policies. This temporary halt is seen as a strategic move to reassess the economic impacts and to find a more sustainable solution moving forward. While this pause offers some respite, it's important to remember that it's only a temporary measure. The underlying issues that sparked the trade war still exist, and the future remains uncertain. However, this 30-day halt provides a crucial window for policymakers to negotiate and potentially find common ground. It's a chance to hit the reset button and hopefully steer towards a more cooperative and stable economic relationship. For now, businesses and consumers can breathe a slight sigh of relief, but the clock is ticking, and the world watches closely to see if this temporary truce will lead to lasting peace, or merely delay the inevitable. Only time will tell if this strategic pause will pave the way for a more balanced and harmonious trade landscape. Let's keep our fingers crossed. As the dust settles on this latest trade spat, one thing is clear. There are no winners in a trade war. The global economy is interconnected, and disrupting those connections has far-reaching consequences. We're all paying for this senseless trade war one way or another. Recently, new tariffs have been imposed, further straining international relations and economic stability. Maybe someday, our leaders will learn that cooperation and diplomacy are better tools for solving problems than tariffs and Twitter rants. And in the meantime, we'll be drowning our sorrows in overpriced tequila and bourbon. Cheers to that.